All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Boozer with CUGC HQ, and I'd like to welcome you to today's user share, Delivering Apps as a Service Courtesy of Central IT. Today's webinar is presented by the State and Local Government Special Interest Group, a forum for technology professionals in state and local government to network with each other, create webinars and discussion forums at mycugc.org, and to provide a transparent user's view of Citrix technology. I'd like to quickly thank our state and local government SIG leaders, Oscar Garcia, Jerry Heppe, Bill Crayon, and Andy Whiteside for volunteering their valuable time and expertise to this group. I'd also like to encourage you to join the state and local government SIG the next time you visit mycugc.org. Just click on the Communities tab and you'll see links to the special interest groups. Presenting today will be Oscar Garcia, CUGC member and one of the state and local government SIG leaders. Oscar is a senior Citrix architect at the Michigan Department of Technology, Management, and Budget. Also with us today is Robert Breithaupt, a Citrix SE supporting state and local government customers throughout the Midwest and Great Plains. Moderating our discussion today is CUGC member and CTP Mike Nelson. And on that note, I just want to remind everyone to check out our CTP Insights blog for the latest articles written by CTPs on Citrix technologies. With that, I'll pass things over to Mike so he can tell you a little more about himself, go over today's format, and then he'll hand things over to Oscar. Here you go, Mike.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. As Stephanie said, my name is Mike Nelson. I am a Citrix technology professional. I was awarded in 2013, and I am also a Microsoft MVP and VMware vExpert. I'm looking forward to today's talks, and I will be actually moderating the session and watching the questions pane. So the format for today is going to be the presentation is going to take about 25 minutes, Q&A discussion about 30. We want to keep that open and free. And then please use the question area in the GoToWebinar panel. Now, I will be monitoring that and I'll be answering questions if I can, if they're specifically for the presenter, Oscar, or for anyone else, then I will pass those on. And this session will be recorded and will be available on mycugc.org. All right.
I'm going to hand the screen to Oscar.
Yep. You want to do, okay, you're not going to do the SIG. Oscar? Are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Mike. My name is Oscar Garcia. I am a contractor working for the state of Michigan as a Citrix architect. First of all, I am not good at conducting webinars, so I do apologize for that. The state of Michigan contracted me to support the design, architecture, implementation, and migration of various legacy XenApp farms into a brand new Enterprise XenApp 7.6 farm, also known as Ngdi, and I will be explaining what Ngdi is and what it stands for. That included the implementation of brand new NetScaler's access gateway for both internal and external connections in high availability as well as global server load balancing modes. It also included SSL, RSA, LDAP authentication, policies, and load balancing. Everything seen on a VMware vSphere version 5.5 hypervisor, backed up by UCS Blade platform. I'd like to make a note, and that is, as a contractor, there might be some state policies issues that I will not be able to address, but you can always ask him in the forums on the mycugc.org, and either I, Robert, and others can respond later. Any questions right now?
No, we just have questions about the recording. The recording will be available, like I said, on mycugc.org, just so everyone knows. And Oscar will be presenting his slides here in just a moment. Go ahead, Oscar.
Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Give me 1 minute here. Okay, so Evsc and Gdi, what does that stand for? It stands for Enterprise Virtual Services Citrix / Next Generation Digital Infrastructure. The purpose of Evsc and Gdi is to deliver applications as a service courtesy of central IT. This presentation focuses on how the state of Michigan, Department of Technology and Management budget, also known as DTMB, as part of a statewide IT consolidation, was able to address the varying security requirements and compliance levels required by all agencies. And I will explain what those agencies are. These security requirements included Cgs, as well as NIST and FIPS that are being supported via XenApp and also NetScaler as the core delivery platform. We were presented with several different challenges with this service provider approach. I will explain why XenApp 7.6 as well as NetScaler MPX-FIPS made sense for us as the right solution for this type of challenge. So why XenApp 7.6 and NetScaler MPX-FIPS 10.x made sense as the right solution? When deploying XenApp and XenDesktop within large organizations such as State of Michigan, particularly in government environments, security standards are an important consideration. Many government bodies specify a preference or requirement for applications to be compliant with Federal Information Processing Standards 140-2, FIPS 140-2. Now, what is FIPS 140-2? It is a U.S. federated government standard that details a benchmark for implementing cryptographic software. Some U.S. government organizations restrict the purchases of products that contain cryptography to those that have FIPS 140 validated modules. The security community at large values products that follow the guidelines detailed in FIPS 140-2 and the use of FIPS 140-2 validated cryptographic modules. Now, the new security features and enhancements that came with XenApp and XenDesktop 7.6 in combination with NetScaler FIPS 10.x provided a more streamlined route to deploy Citrix products securely and in accordance with FIPS 140-2. Some of these features provided the following benefits. When it comes to traffic can be secured from user devices right through to hosted desktops and applications using TLS, the Transport Layer Security Protocol encryption, with enhancements to the broker and VDA on XenApp and also XenDesktop. Transport Layer Security can be configured through the VDA. The FIPS-enabled NetScaler Gateway MPX-FIPS appliance, in our particular case, NetScaler Gateway 10.x, is fully compatible, and it did allow full TLS configuration in the deployments that included NetScaler Gateway. As mentioned before, NetScaler Gateway MPX FIPS appliances are FIPS 140-2 Level 2 compliant, offering encrypted and FIPS secured communication between the Citrix receiver, user devices, and the NetScaler Gateway. The NetScaler Gateway and XenApp and or XenDesktop, VDA, and storefront. FIPS compliance can be achieved without any dependencies on IPsec network configuration. And we no longer have to use additional components such as the SSL relay for TLS configuration. The cryptographic modules used are FIPS 140-2 and are validated when using products with the TLS connections enabled. Citrix XenApp and XenDesktop, as well as storefront and receiver, use cryptographic modules provided by the Microsoft Windows operating system. Now we're going to be talking about these three components that are used to secure data communications using the TLS protocol. TLS provides server authentication, encryption of the data stream, and message integrity checks. I wouldn't say the most important product, but one of the three components that make up this secured environment is the NetScaler Gateway MPX FIPS hardware appliance. We deployed it in the DMZ area, which provided secured remote access to our XenApp and XenDesktop environments. It provided FIPS 140-2 Level 2 TLS encryption of traffic to encrypt and secure communication between the Citrix receiver and the NetScaler Gateway MPX FIPS hardware appliance, the NetScaler Gateway MPX FIPS hardware appliance and storefront, the delivery controller, as well as the VDA. NetScaler uses the FIPS 140-2 validated Cavium cryptographic module. The other component is the storefront, which provides TLS encryption and secure communication between the Citrix receiver and the XenApp and or XenDesktop VDA for the internal access deployment scenarios. Citrix receiver and storefront for the remote access deployment scenarios. And of course, the delivery controller and the storefront. And the last piece is the virtual desktop agent, also known as the VDA, which runs on XenApp or XenDesktop and provides encryption and secure communication between the Citrix receiver and the XenApp and or XenDesktop VDA for the internal access deployment, and also NetScaler Gateway MPX FIPS hardware appliance and the XenApp and or XenDesktop VDA for the remote access deployment scenarios. Now, Evsc and Gdi, what is it? Originally, it was known as Citrix Center of Excellence, or CCOE, for the state of Michigan, in which agencies individually supported Citrix prior to 2002, such as the case of DLARA, and I'll explain what DLARA is. CCOE was established in 2007. Now, Evsc and Gdi, what are its support functions? To install any desktop client application on central servers, to publish and display them through web services, and to also leverage web browser to view and execute the applications. Now, what are the benefits? No longer we need to install applications or data on desktops. Applications are being managed centrally and kept secured. Provision applications quickly to broad audience. The applications run on any device with web browser. Now, what are some of the statistics for Evsc and Gdi? We support 11 agencies. Those agencies are the Executive, the Attorney General, the Auditor General, Department of Corrections, Department of State, Department of Labor and Regulatory Affairs, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Natural Resources, Department of Technology Management and Budget, which is my team, my department, Department of Transportation, and Department of Environment Quality. We support 172 applications, and we have currently 3,500 licensed users on XenApp and 135 licenses for Xen Desktop, and we are a Platinum licensed user. And currently, we have 3,000 XenApp users. We're also in the process of deploying VDI solution. However, I'm not going to be talking about that because it's not even in the works yet. Now, what are the rating activities? Define budget and rate for service. We provide a number of services, and each server has a price. This price is provided by cost efficiencies and by sharing the infrastructure. We also virtualize Citrix Farm servers to leverage virtual servers for all infrastructure and to provide on-demand capacity and resource management, and to build in redundancy and disaster recovery capabilities. When it comes to mobile device management, we understand that every organization needs to see and control the mobile devices entering their enterprise, whether they are provided by the company or part of a bring your own device, BYOD program. MAS 360 mobile device management, or MDM. We found it to be the fastest, most comprehensive way to make that happen. The Smart Device and Support team is the team that manages MAS 360, an easy-to-use cloud platform with all the essential functionality for end-to-end management of mobile devices that includes iPhones, iPads, Androids, and Windows phones. And it's 100% not relying, nor is there any ties to Citrix. When it comes to meeting security requirements for Cgs, we follow Cgs Security Policy version 5.4, dated October 6, 2015, Chapter 5, Area 1-10 and 13, which states as follows: the policy and implementation policy areas focus upon the data and services that the FBI Cgs division exchanges and provides to the criminal justice community and its partners. Each policy area provides both strategic reasoning and tactical implementation requirements and standards. While the major theme of the policy areas is concerned with electronic exchange directly with the FBI, it is understood that for the dissemination of CGI to authorized recipients by various means, in parentheses, hard copy, email, web posting, etc., constitutes a significant portion of CGI exchanges, regardless of its form, use, or method of dissemination. CGI requires protection throughout its life. Not every customer of FBI CGI services will encounter all of the policy areas. Therefore, the circumstances of applicability are based on individual agency, entity configurations, and usage. Use cases within each of the policy areas help users relate the policy to their own agency circumstances. Now, these policy areas are information exchange agreements, security awareness training, incident response, auditing and accountability, access control, identification and authentication, configuration management, media protection, physical protection, systems and communications protection, and information integrity, formal audits, personnel security, and mobile devices. Now, it is essential that the premise of the Cgs security policy to provide appropriate controls to protect the full life cycle of CGI, whether at rest or in transit. The Cgs security policy provides guidance for the creation, viewing, modification, transmission, dissemination, storage, and destruction of CGI. This policy applies to every individual, contractor, private entity, non-criminal justice agency representative, or a member of a criminal justice entity with access to or who operate in support of criminal justice services and information. When encryption is employed, the cryptographic module used shall be certified to meet FIPS 140-2 standards, except when encryption is used for CGI at rest. Agencies may use encryption methods that are FIPS 197 certified, which is also 256-bit, as described on the National Security Agency, NSA, Suite B, cryptography, list of approved algorithms. For agencies using public key infrastructure technology, the agency shall develop and implement a certificate policy and certification practice statement for the issuance of public key certificates used in the information system. Registration to receive a public key certificate shall include authorization by a supervisor or a responsible official, be accomplished by a security process that verifies the identity of the certificate holder, and last but not least, ensure that the certificate is issued to the intended party. In our situation, for AA, RSA tokens, and PKI certificates are being used. The AA, or Advanced Authentication Policy and Rationale, the requirements to use or not to use AA is dependent upon the physical, personnel, and clinical security controls associated with the user location and whether CGI is accessed directly or indirectly. AA shall not be required for users requesting access to CGI from within the perimeter of a physically secured location. When the technical security controls have been met, or when the user has no ability to conduct transactional activities on state and national repositories, applications, or services. So I'm pretty sure you have seen this before, but anyways, how does it all work? We have the user, we have the web interface, we have the broker, we have Citrix Farm and license access. The user is validated, and the license server is contacted to see if there's any valid licenses available to issue. The license access response, in this particular case with a yes, back to the web interface. The web interface will then contact the broker to initiate an application request. The broker will be contacting the Citrix Farm, and it will pick the least used farm server. The Citrix Farm responds back to the web interface, sending the application view. The web interface will then contact the user. The user will start using the application, and there's a direct communication line established between the user and the Citrix Farm. Now, this diagram shows the layout of the data flow. We have several different layers. We have the content switch layer. We have the Citrix internal DMZ, the Citrix internal application tier, the internal data tier, the systems management tier, the legacy authentication tier, and of course the legacy tier. And each particular tier, as you can see, manages a specific set of functions. For instance, the data tier, all you will see there is nothing but databases. The application tier, you will find the XenApp application servers as well as the delivery controllers. Now, what this means, or what this will translate to, is whenever we need to establish communication between tiers, firewall ports will need to be identified and requested to be open. Each particular line of communication will carry a port number as well as a protocol. And this is just one particular example. We're using NetScaler MPX 12500 FIPS compliant appliances. And we're also using two-factor authentication, RSA, along with LDAP. There's no internet accessibility from within the network. The content switches will handle both internal as well as the external connections. The external connections are being handled by either a VPN connection, or through Citrix. In terms of the actual data flow, the user connects to the Citrix Access Gateway through the content switch. This would be either internal or external. The Citrix Access Gateway sends RSA access prompt to user through content switch. The user will then supply the RSA and sends that to the RSA. This credential includes the user ID, the passcode, and token, and all that is being provided to the Citrix Access Gateway through the content switch. The Citrix Access Gateway checks RSA credentials at RSA Secure ID. RSA Secure ID sends either pass or fail back to Citrix Access Gateway. Citrix Access Gateway connects to the web interface. The web interface sends AD access prompt to user through Citrix Access Gateway and content switch. The user provides the Active Directory user ID and password to web interface to the content switch, and as well as the Citrix Access Gateway. The web interface checks the AD credentials at Active Directory through Zone Data Collector as XML broker. The Active Directory sends pass or fail to web interface through Zone Data Collector XML broker. The web interface requests applications list and application server from Zone Data Collector XML broker. The Zone Data Collector XML broker then requests applications list and application server from the Citrix Data Store. The Citrix Data Store sends application list and application server back to the Zone Data Collector XML broker. The Zone Data Collector XML broker sends application list and application server to the web interface, which will then send that to the user. The user will then select application and sends request through the content switch and Citrix Access Gateway to the Citrix application server. The Citrix application server validates the user authentication via Citrix Data Store. The Citrix Data Store sends either pass or fail to Citrix application server. Citrix application server opens application and sends application window to user. User sends keystrokes or mouse strokes through the application window to Citrix application server. The Citrix application server executes keystrokes mouse via application, and the Citrix application server updates application screen and sends to user. Now, how is support being requested? If it's a new Citrix application, we use remedy. A remedy ticket is sent to the Evsc and Gdi in a form of Citrix application. An enterprise architecture assessment will then need to be created and also provided. The infrastructure services request is put in, and the project workgroup and build out begins. For new application residing on an existing server hardware, again, a remedy ticket to Evsc and Gdi. Citrix application form needs to be submitted, and then the project workgroup and build out begins. For existing Citrix application support, whether it's a change, a version upgrade, to add users, etc., a remedy ticket is created and assigned to the Evsc and Gdi for handling. Time for questions.
Oscar, currently right now, let me take a look here. Okay, the first question we have, it didn't go into the question window, it's rather in the chat. Do you use Citrix in all 11 of the agency's DTMB supports?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Let me talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
We have, well, originally, I started about two years ago. State of Michigan had different Citrix farms, different flavors, from 4.0 to 5.0, 6.0, 6.5, and all these many different Citrix farms is what State of Michigan was using to support all these many agencies. Now, with this brand new Ngdi Citrix farm, we are migrating all these many different farms into this one single enterprise farm, and we are accommodating every agency security requirements depending on what they are, based on different NetScaler configurations, different NetScaler versions, as well as certificates and policies.
So, Oscar, you didn't actually go forward or have any plan to go forward just to, switch over to SDX, NetScaler SDXs, and become the centralized NetScaler implementation, if you will, for all these departments?
Not at present time. However, that is being planned, and I'm thinking maybe not a near future, but possibly towards the end of this year, we will be looking at this.
Okay, good. We have another question is from Steve. How did the state get to this point? And he means by that, what was the progression from what they have to what they had to what they have now?
Sure. So that's a good question. In the past, all these many agencies had their own IT departments. In each department, each IT department had its own team of engineers, Windows, Citrix, and VMware, just to name a few. Now, there were problems when they were silos, problems that had to do with networking, problems that had to do with security, just to name a few. With the new environment, we are accommodating all these many different situations, networking, security, manageability. No longer companies have to have their own team of experts to handle every IT issue. By consolidating and by integrating into this one giant enterprise solution, we are sharing resources amongst all these different agencies, and this type of resource sharing also includes IT personnel.
Okay, great. We also have, again from Steve, what were the issues that needed to be overcome, and what stumbling blocks did they have to hurdle over in order to accomplish what you've done?
Sure. Again, Steve, good question. So, bringing all this many different agencies into this bigger enterprise environment did pose several different challenges. One of them, and I think it's the most critical, is the fact that each agency came along with its own set of security requirements and regulations. So being able to accommodate all these many different requirements from all these many different agencies was really a challenge. And by, again, combining XenApp 7.6 with NetScaler FIPS compliant appliances, along with several different types of policies, certificates, and by meeting government regulations and standards, we were able to accommodate each one of these agencies.
Oh, great. Great. The question that I have, and maybe you answered this in the slides, I apologize, but you showed a web interface server that you're actually, the users are first entering the authentication to. Do you have plans to upgrade that to storefront?
Yes. That particular diagram, and I apologize for that, it's not the most updated diagram.
Okay.
Yes, definitely everything is going to be, we're actually in the process of upgrading from 7.6 to 7.8. And as far as the web interfaces, because we still have some legacy applications and a couple of legacy Citrix farms. That's why this diagram is not the most updated. But yes, moving forward, everything is going to be storefront 11. NetScaler MPX version 11. We're at 10.59 right now, and storefront instead of web interface, and everything will be residing on Windows 2012 R2.
So, and that brings up an interesting point. I have to ask you this. Usually from a government point of view, I've worked with a few governments on their Citrix implementations, and they're usually not bleeding edge. I heard you said that you were going to implement XenApp 7.8, which just got released.
Yes.
So, have you been actually regression testing the beta or the TB, or how? You usually are on that edge where you deploy things right away?
No, not really. What happens is we have a lab, and we have been working very extensively with the lab to try and find out what the hurdles will be. We're documenting everything that we do with the lab, all the major roadblocks that we have encountered. They have been documented as well, and with working with Citrix documentation by going to webinars of that nature, we have been able to find the fixed and or solution to those particular hurdles. It's not something that is going to be happening right away. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to be proactive, and it won't be until maybe the end of the year before we decide that yes, we are ready to upgrade. But yeah, you're right. As of right now, we're not there yet.
I can tell you, you're much further ahead than some other folks that I've worked with. They're still on XenApp 6.5, so you're much further ahead. We have another question from Steve. Is there any process that bills out each agency's cost to implement the solution? I'm assuming he means some kind of a chargeback. But then also going forward, how does each agency contribute to the effort from a monetary standpoint? So you have some form of chargeback system, or is it from a cost center standpoint? Is there some pooling between the agencies to resolve this, or is that all just on your agency to do that, to provide it?
Sure. Unfortunately, I don't have with me any of my coworkers. I'm not very familiar with how the agencies are being charged. Okay. I do know that, for instance, the courts, if they decide that they want to utilize our services, they may decide to have their own environment and not being shared by anything else. Why? Because it's the courts and it's going to be 100% secured. So in that particular case, the rates I will imagine would be different from those who are less security stringent and do not mind sharing some of the resources.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But it is now the questions are coming fast and furious here. We'll take a couple more.
Sure.
John is asking, can you talk more about the legacy application issues causing you to stay on web interfaces versus storefront? And he's asking for examples or specifics. I know sometimes you can't be specific, but.
Yes. So yes, John, thank you. Good question. One particular reason for still keeping the legacy forms, it's due to the fact that back in the day, as we all know, we did hire programmers, and we created our own customized applications. Well, what happens is these programmers, they come and go, and if proper documentation is not available, it's not provided, and nobody's able to decode and change the program to make it compatible to the latest and greatest hardware there is. Well, that creates a problem. We have several different 16-bit applications that have been proven to fail on the newer 64-bit environments. So the plan for those is to isolate them, still go ahead and bring them over to our 64-bit environment, but we're going to isolate them as opposed to, being able to repackage them or virtualize them.
Sure. And that's pretty common practice, is creating what you're basically creating is just silos, for those legacy applications until you can actually buy up, to a 64-bit application, or switch vendors, basically, because some of the vendors no longer exist, like you say, or the developers are no longer exist. But yeah, just siloing those applications is what some people have to do. Now, that brings on another point that Steve asked. The question is, what is the process that you're using to convert the applications for the XenApp 7.6? Now, AppDNA is one solution. Have you used that, or how are you determining how the apps are getting brought into the environment?
So yes, AppDNA, it's being utilized not necessarily by my team. It's being utilized by another team that handles the repackaging, the publishing, or not the publishing, I'm sorry, the repackaging and the virtualizing of the applications. And they're the ones responsible for making sure that compatibility-wise, everything is in place. So I will not be able to talk about that because, we don't handle that.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's understandable, and that's pretty common as well. That you have usually it's the app folks or the even desktop folks that I've seen that have taken over that responsibility.
Correct.
To determine if the application is going to move or not. One question we also have is, how do you determine if a new department is a good candidate for your Citrix solution? Is there some kind of a checklist or some kind of prerequisites, or is it just open to everyone?
No, there's obviously a checklist, and what it is we start with local visits to the agency. We learn their environment. We also learn about their requirements and what they would like to have in terms of updates, upgrades, etc. And normally, all state government agencies are either are being regulated by the same set of rules and regulations depending on what they do. So for the most part, we have an environment that can accommodate for any agency out there. We have implemented several appliances that are configured differently from the others that will meet all these different security requirements and also policies. So having an agency or bringing an agency, a brand new agency, onto this new enterprise solution does not really pose a problem for us at all. It used to 3-4 years ago, but not anymore.
That's great. That's great. You can just kind of, go check them out, run through your checklist, invite them in, or set them up and invite them in, and you're ready to go, huh?
Yes, sir.
Great, great. Okay, we've got about 2 more questions here. How do we measure application performance? Have you evaluated or used any APM solutions? I'm not sure if you mentioned that in your deck. I don't think you did. You use any solutions? Okay.
No, but we're in the process of deploying Insight Center,
Yep,
as well as Command Center, along with Director, to try and monitor, applications, user connections, as well as NetScaler to NetScaler communications, and being able to produce reports that will allow us to be proactive.
That's great. That's great. And with the addition, the Citrix purchasing of the licensing of the ComTrade software will also add quite a bit of ability for you to monitor that application flow as well. So
correct.
That'll be nice. Okay, and the last one I have here is, this is kind of like an all-encompassing question for you. Have you seen benefits with the move to the 7.6 platform? I mean, does anything really stand out in your mind that when you moved to 7.6, it just was like a wow moment, or something that, it solved a problem that's been nagging you for a while?
Yes, definitely. As I did mention before, all these agencies were independently working from each other, each handling their own issues. All of them were using Remedy to keep track of situations and what was being done to remediate all these issues. One particular problem that we had in the past that we don't have now is, in the past, all these many agencies were saturated with Remedy tickets that totally went out of control. With the new environment, we're keeping track of all these issues, and believe it or not, the number of tickets that were created before, as opposed to the ones we're receiving now these days, has gone down to 50%.
Oh, that's great. And this last question, this is going to be our last question because I think we're really close to the top of the hour here. But we have one from Robert, and he ties right into what you just said. If you could briefly address how your help desk personnel were trained or prepared for this whole consolidation, everything that you've done. How, if help desk, were they already exposed to Citrix, or were they, how are they trained to actually handle something like this from all these different agencies?
Sure. So the help desk personnel, most of them, if not all of them, were brought in from their previous agencies, and we have 4 different levels of help desk: level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the escalation is pretty simple. Obviously, level 1 is the forefront. They take all the requests either via phone or through Remedy. If if this is something that they can remediate themselves, they'll go ahead and do. If it's something that keeps coming back, they're all escalated to level 2. If it's something that they just not, familiar with, or maybe it's something that's out of their hands, it will also get escalated to level 2. Level 2 will do the same thing to level 3. Level 3 to level 4. I provide level 4 support, and I am the last step on the ladder. However, if I do encounter situations where, again, I'm not really familiar with the issue, or maybe it's something that I have never seen before, or simply I just need help or guidance, proper guidance, I will then contact my TRM, my Citrix TRM, and together, along with the other levels members, will work towards a final resolution. Now, as far as training, there is cross-training between all these different levels. Obviously, we're not going to be training. There's not going to be any training from level 4 to level 1. Training is provided backwards. Level 4 will train level 3. Level 3 will train level 2, and level 2 will train level 1. There might be things that are common to all levels, and on something like that, yes, all levels will be participating on this particular type of training, and yes, so that's how we handle that.
It's very, very well organized, Oscar, I must say. I'm very impressed on how this all kind of folded together. Usually there's a little bit of chaos in the mix, but and maybe you've had some chaos, but you're not telling everybody about it. But it's very impressive. So that was the end of the questions, and this will actually be the end of the webinar. Stephanie?
Sorry, yes, just want to thank Oscar for your presentation, and thank Robert and Mike for sharing your time with us today, and to all of you for attending. I'd like to remind all of you, if you haven't already, to join the State and Local Government SIG today. Also want to let you know in the next day or so, we'll be posting the recording of today's presentation at mycugc.org, as well as opening a discussion thread in the forum where you can post any other follow-up questions you might have for Oscar. Tomorrow, you'll receive a short email survey, which we hope you'll fill out, as your feedback helps us plan our future webinars and events. We also have a full roster of webinars coming up this spring, so be sure to check mycugc.org regularly for our latest schedule and to register. And finally, if you have any topic ideas or know of someone who would like to present to the community, please email your suggestions to us at hq@mycugc.org. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you online in the CUGC discussion forums and at the next webinar. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you all.